Hi, I want to talk about the comparison of adjectives. Adjectives come in three forms: absolute, comparative, and superlative. An absolute adjective just describes something in its own right. For instance, I might say the dandelion is pretty. It's pretty in itself. But if there's a daffodil nearby, I might say the daffodil is prettier. And then if there's a rose, I might say the rose is prettiest of all. That's absolute, pretty, comparative, prettier, and superlative, prettiest. Now, one syllable adjectives, they add er or est, like cool. She's cool. He's cooler. And that person over there is coolest. And you might, with one syllable adjectives, have to add an extra consonant. For instance, he might be mad, but she's madder. And that person over there is maddest of all. So you have to add an extra D. Could be slim. She's slim, he's slimmer, and that person is slimmest. You add an extra M. If the one syllable word ends in an E, like late, then you don't have to add the ER or EST. You just add R and ST. Late, latest. You have the E already, so you don't have to add another one. Two syllable adjectives in an MY, like pretty. Change the Y to an I, and then add the ER and EST. But sometimes, with multisyllable words, that would get ridiculous. I mean, you can't say that's outrageous or that's outrageousest. You can, but it sounds stupid. So we keep the absolute adjective in that case. We keep outrageous, but we add something before it to compare. And we would say, with comparative, we would say, if we're comparing two things, we would say that's more outrageous. If we're comparing more than two things, something would be the most outrageous. Some words completely change. We no longer use the absolute adjective. For instance, with good and bad. I'm good today, but tomorrow I will be better, and the next day I'll be best of all. Or I'm bad today, and tomorrow I'll be, I started to say badder, tomorrow I'll be worse, and the next day I'll be the worst of all. Now, sometimes we hear kids say, that's bad and that's badder. Or they'll even add the more and then add the IER too. For instance, like pretty, they might say that's more prettier. But that's not how it works. We either have prettier or we have more outrageous or whatever. And different words use a different form. I sometimes hear parents say, they'll have two kids, and they'll say, my oldest child. Well, they don't have an oldest child, because when you're comparing your two kids, there are only two of them. You have an older one, you have a younger one. You don't have an oldest one or a youngest one. And in formal writing, we have to remember that. When we talk in our everyday talk, of course, we probably will say oldest or youngest, even if we only have two. I'm just trying to tell you the proper way. I think that is it for the comparison of adjectives. Bye.